think we are in.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So this is Yvette, my co-host for Letting Go and Welcoming In. And we wanted to chat today about what exactly is involved with this workshop, what it's about, how it can help, how doing them has helped us, because this one will be our third one, right?
Correct.
Because we're going solstice and equinox as the seasons change. So this one is the summer one. We did one for winter in December. We did one for spring, and now we're doing summer. So how are you finding? I thought it was interesting that you know other people are excited about you doing something called letting go and welcoming in.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because I mean they don't even know what it is, but just the name of it is intriguing. So do you want to just try and do a brief description of what exactly it is?
Well, letting go is letting go of anything that you no longer want or desire in your life. And it can be anything simple to something more like, I don't want to be mean anymore, to something which is not easy, and not simple, but something like that to, I want to let go of negative people in my life and not be afraid to do that. And that can be very hard because the fear base of letting somebody go and repercussions that can come from that can be difficult to do. And then bringing something that you really want into your life and focusing on it more. And, I've brought in positive thinking, and I've brought in financial abundance, and I've brought in different things like that so that it can be something that I'm focused on and aware of on a daily basis, because now it's there and I see it every day. And that really helps to let things go and to bring things in. I bring my lists to the beach and I have myself a little bonfire with them, and I let it go out to the universe. And what comes back is what's supposed to come back, and what I'm letting go is supposed to be gone. So, and that works. And so I really enjoy doing this. I really enjoy the benefits of it, and it makes me happy. So I will do this all the time.
Yeah, yeah, I think I'm really enjoying honoring the season change
Yes.
and the focus of it, instead of just, well, I don't want that in my life. And I know that I don't want that in my life, that negativity, or we got really specific in what we were letting go of last time. And then I like going outside. I just burned my list in my backyard in my chimney. And it's so satisfying to watch that stuff go. One of the things that I started doing last time that was quite different is I bought this little notebook online. I thought it was like the full size because this is the size notebook I usually like to work with. But it's not. It was this dumb little thing, and I was pretty mad about it because it doesn't really have a lot of room per page. So I looked at it and I was like, what am I going to do with this dumb thing? And so I just called it junk thoughts. So anytime I'm noticing that I'm having like negativity. I'm having negativity about this dumb book. That's what I started with. I really didn't want to use this book. That's the first sentence.
That's great.
And I called it junk thoughts for brain dump. So when I got something ruminating in my mind where I'm thinking about, whatever, I've had a death in the family, the grief that I have, the difficulty that's going on, whatever new symptom has popped up. And I wanted to show you guys because look, it's like 2/3 of the way full of just garbage. Like I went through and read some stuff the other day, just looking to see was there anything in here that was actually worth keeping. And there's 2 pages that are actually worth keeping. There's one that's definitely a poem, and there's another one that's just really specific about a list that I wanted to keep. And other than that, there's my welcoming in list from last time. And I put the welcoming in list, I wrote it out in good, and I put it on my fridge, and I saved it on my phone as the screensaver. So every time I look at my phone, I can see that list. And, looking at it now, because now we're doing the reevaluation, did these things come in And like I've got check marks. Look, I even went through and checked them off. Like these things are actually happening now. Is it like all the time? Not necessarily, right? It's a
No.
balanced work life. That's that's an ongoing continuum. But I do feel I have seen a lot of these things come in. And so this time we'll do the same kind of thing. How are you going to approach writing your letting go and welcoming in list?
I am going to do, I did a little bit of a meditation this morning to try and focus in on what I want to do next, what I want to bring in and what I want to let go. And sometimes it's not even what I want to let go, it's what I need to let go of because it's making me uh, a calmer, happier person. And so I need to I need to figure out what I need to let go of. And it's not always just it's not simple as saying negative thoughts. It has you sometimes have to get more specific because there are things that you dwell on and you need to say this is what needs to let go of. So I'm going to do some meditation and do that for it and so I can fine tune exactly what I need to let go of. I also have a therapist and I talk to my therapist about it and she helps me with my list a little bit and which is good
Awesome.
because sometimes I sit there and she hears me and she'll say, you know, Yvette, maybe you need to do this. I
Yeah.
go, that's a great idea. And I write it down.
Yeah. And keeping track of stuff I think is really important because if you just have it floating around in your mind,
Yeah.
you might not really notice so much. So this is what I do. I take one page and on one side I'll have letting go and the other side I'll have welcoming in. So, I'm going to be over the next because we're a week away now, a week away from the workshop. Over the next week, I'll keep coming back to this page when I think of something that I want to let go of. Say dwelling on a certain problem. I might have that in there, right? Like ruminating on a problem, have a few different problems that are unsolvable because they're not the kind of thing that I can just change. It involves other people. Other people have their own control over their own lives and their own decisions, and I don't get a say. So I can't have that disrupting my sense of peace because
Yes.
I'm thinking about it constantly. So I would have that on the letting go side. And then I try to imagine what space does that make for something to come in, right? So maybe it might be as simple as more fun. Because I did notice I don't have fun on my previous list, and I would like to be having more fun. Don't feel like I have enough fun in my life at this point. And a lot of the other stuff I did really well at, right? Focusing on well-being, feeling at home, that's pretty much problem solved because we moved in July and I really wasn't feeling at home at all. So having that on my list really helped me to focus in on what can I do for myself to help myself to feel more at home. So I did some subtle things like I always had a diffuser running in the apartment that we were in before we moved in here in the bedroom. And my husband didn't really he doesn't like the essential oils. Um, so I just bought one and I use it without the oils. But Calgary is a very dry city and having a little bit of
Yes.
moisture, and the sound that the machine makes a big difference and help me to really, it's kind of part of the ritual of going to bed, getting the diffuser set up helps me to relax and get ready for bed. So that's really something that I've noticed my attitude towards the house. I don't think that I'm quite at the like, this is my house yet, but I'm feeling more at home.
And
So
that's important. That's important.
that is important for your overall like sense of self and well-being in the world. Um, so one of the questions I got was, this workshop is really expensive. It's not going to be worth it. So what can you say about spending $67 on a workshop that's that specific on what you want for your life?
It's interesting because at the value with our workshop, we do other things other than just sit here and talk about what we're letting go and welcoming in, and it becomes almost a therapeutic I mean, it is therapeutic, it isn't almost. And then we also do our Reiki, or Jessica does her yoga nidra stuff. And I'm going, that in itself, without the welcoming in and letting go, is worth the $67 plus, plus, plus. So I'm going, for me, it would be a no-brainer. So, that's just, we're throwing that in as part of the package for healing and focusing and stuff. But you're going, you know, I've been to a lot of welcoming in and letting go things, and paid more money, and laid on the floor in a gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you're in the comfort of your home. You can surround yourself with the things that you love, and you have prep time. One of the things I was going to say about prep time, it's a week before. The beauty of this particular 7 days is thinking about it. Things repeat themselves in your head. And when they repeat themselves in your head, you write them down and you go, this is what I need to, and you become aware of what's repeating. And you're going like, oh, you know what? Why am I keep focusing on this? And whether it's bringing in or letting go, those are the things you need to write down and figure out where they belong, what column they belong in. But yeah,
Mhm.
I think it's well worth the money. There is no doubt about it. Um, Everybody's time has value, and everything that we do has value. So this is something and it's something you're doing for your well-being, and you're worth it.
Yeah.
You're worth it.
Yeah.
And that's the most important part. Like I feel like I am worth $67 an hour. I am worth that. I am worth way more than that.
Yeah.
And I deserve to have that done in my life, to take care of me. This is my taking care of me time. And that's and we've had a few clients that have had really good breakthroughs and stuff, which is really good. And we're going like, yes, whatever it is, whatever you need, it happens when it's supposed to happen. And we're here to help support you and help you learn how to be supported and allow yourself to be supported. You don't have to do this alone.
Yeah. And I think that's really important, the allowing yourself to be supported, the investment in yourself. And when people ask me, well, why don't you just do it all for free? Well, number one, I'm not independently wealthy. So I need to make money. I've invested a lot of money in my trainings, many, yeah, over 900 hours specifically in yoga training. Um, Not to mention my own therapeutic journey. Like I've been in some kind of therapy since I was a teenager. That all cost money. Um, but when I was running stuff for free, you know what I found? People didn't show up.
Yep.
I'd have tons of people registered and talking about it, but then they just wouldn't show up for the actual event. So, I mean, even for someone who wasn't at that place where they were able to and willing to and had the money to invest in that workshop, but they did all of the preamble stuff that, because I'll go into the group and talk about it over the next few days, about how my list is going and creating your own list. Um, they're still going to get the benefit of having that together, but they don't get the benefit of what we do in the container of the event, where each one of us declares to other people who are witnessing what it is you're letting go of and what you're welcoming in, and then having the chance to have that kind of solidify as a group. So each one of us is having our own individual journey, but we're together and supported through that, which means you have other people invested in your well-being as well. And we know science tells you that's what we need. We need social initiative. That's number one to get anything done. And the social initiative part is, well, you've paid money to show up for an event, so you might as well show up.
Yes.
And then you're just sharing as much as you want to, right? Like some things might be overly personal and you don't share that publicly, but in the small group with the witnessing, you can. And then it all gets to kind of solidify into what it's going to turn into. And then you can do whatever ritual you want for letting go and come up with your own creative ways of paying attention to what you're welcoming in And, there was one specific case I wanted you to talk about with a particular person, and you don't have to name who it was or anything, but this particular person had been very clear about wanting to just be gone from your life. And, she
Right.
wanted to be let go. You didn't really feel the same way about it. But through this process, I remember we talked about it really briefly the first workshop. But by the second one, it was like, you know what? I need to do that part.
Right. Right. And now, as of right now, I have dealt with it in a fashion that respects that person's boundaries, and I have let go by doing what I needed to do to let her go. And it's okay. Like, I feel okay about it. Did some stuff still, irritate me? Of course, I'm a human being. So some stuff will, and that person will never probably ever be totally gone. It's just that it's one of those things that you sit there and you're going, I have to respect somebody else's boundaries. They're not necessarily respecting mine, but I'm going to do what I still need to do to be that, to let it go. So I did what I needed to do, and a situation came up, and I would just jumped all over it. And I just went like, okay, now I can do what I need to do, even though she doesn't want to see me. I see her and I can make it happen. And that's what I did. And I was just like, when it was over, I was just like, wow, that was so releasing. That was a really cool thing to do without hurting anybody's feelings. And I was still a nice person by not going beyond her boundary. So it worked out. So I'm just going like, and situations will arise. So you just have to be aware that they are there. You can have closure or whatever. Some people don't like that word, but there is closure. And I said, I feel like that's what I've achieved now. And now I have to work on the healing part of that relationship being gone. But I've had the letting go part done. And when you lose somebody in your life, whether it's by death or by choice, it's painful. It's so you need to deal with it. So that's what I'm doing now, but I just feel so much more better having had that opportunity, being aware it was an opportunity and taking it full advantage of it. The
Mhm.
other thing I wanted to say, Jessica, was that, you know, we've also had people come to our group who weren't quite prepared because they didn't understand what letting go and welcoming in meant. And even with our conversations like this, it's okay if you're not like 100% prepared. I add stuff to my list as we are speaking because I'm going, oh, that's a good one. You can do that. We're here to help guide. And you can say, well, I never thought of that. And that is okay. Add to your list. We can help you create your list. You only need 2 or 3 items in each list, 1 item in each list. It's not easy the first time. It gets easier as you go on. And you never run out of things to bring in and let go. It's there. As soon as I think about, Jessica asked me this morning, are you prepared for your letting go and welcoming in? Nope. I sat down, had a little meditation, and I have a list. And I just did it. I'm going like, wow, that was not as hard as I thought it was going to be. But that's what happens. You just sit
Yeah.
and you can do that. And it comes naturally after that. And you can just, what you want to focus on. So that first time is tough. Don't worry about it. That's why we're here. We give you examples. You can say, that's a good idea. Yeah, I don't have that problem in my life. That's okay.
Yeah.
And we'll help you pick up on that. We're all have been through or going through perimenopause, and there's a lot of shit that goes with that.
Yeah.
And we just need to deal with that too. And sometimes there's just that I have to let go of the fact that I was really, really cranky the other day and I
Yeah.
wasn't nice. And that's okay. You have to let that go too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And I think it's important to, like, I wanted to mention actual symptoms, right? Because
or-
I think that was the first one we had. Someone was like, could I have hot flashes on my, absolutely. You can let go of the hot flash. Does it mean you'll never have a hot flash again? Not necessarily, right? Like if you look
right,
at the example of a difficult relationship, that relationship doesn't just disappear because that
right,
person may still be around in some way in your life, and have to at some point have interaction or manage that. but it's the way that you manage it. When you let go, you have to go, okay, so if I have hot flashes on the one side, what's the opposite of a hot flash? Right? And you could say feeling comfortable, having a good body temperature, not sweating profusely, not getting red in the face, whatever it is, right? However you want to define that for yourself. And I also think that there is something to being prepared to coming to this kind of event.
Yes.
However, one of our participants came to the first one. She had just joined the group and just heard about it the day of, had no preparation, came to the group, and I was like, well, for someone who hasn't put much thought into it, she had a very concise and detailed thing. She knew what she wanted to let go of, and she knew what she wanted to welcome in. And she became a private client of mine and is doing incredibly well. She's doing a lot better than she was, and she's set to graduate from coaching. I think she's got 2 more. And she's gone from not being able to work and hardly functioning to working full time and feeling pretty good, going to classes again and doing the things that make her happy and enjoying herself. So I think that that's one of the important parts, and maybe what differentiates this from a lot of workshops where you're just like, what it's not working for you anymore and you want to let it go. But we're creating a kind of vacuum when we do that. So it's important, I feel, to have that idea of what are you welcoming in? What is coming in to fill that space? If you're not going to sit there worrying about this situation that you can't control, what would you rather be doing with your time?
Right. Exactly.
Working out, having a nap, talking to a friend, and all of those things can be in the list and on the list. And the other thing I
Going
wanted to
for
say,
lunch with somebody who wants to be with you.
yeah, it's not
Yeah.
just about talking. That's the other thing I have people say, oh, it's just talking. This is not just talking, because it's not just us, talking about the lunch that we had. We're talking about very specific things. If I want to let
Yes.
go of, I'm right now becoming aware that I'm having quite a lot of judgment about getting older, which is interesting because I'm not particularly worried about how I look. Like my image has never super been important to me. I'm not the kind of fancy girl that spends 2 hours on hair and makeup, as you can probably tell. But this idea of becoming an elderly woman, I'm not really all that down with. So I think, you know,
I don't
I
think
need,
any of us are.
yeah, I need to let go of, so what is it about that, right? Like I need to let go of
Yeah.
like the fear of growing older, and maybe some of the stigma or the attitudes that I have about growing older. Now that I've become aware of that, I can kind of try and whittle it down to what exactly is it. And a lot of it is just frankly fear of the future.
Mhm.
So I can have that. I'm going to write that actually, fear of the future as my number one. And then I have to start thinking about what can you welcome in if you're not having fear of the future? Well, I mean, easy enough.
Well,
You're fully present
right. Yeah,
right
actually, I
now.
have one of those living for today. That's on
See?
my list.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think
So,
even the language is important too, because, you know, I can't tell you what to put on your list. Even though you and I are pretty close and we know each other quite well, the way that I'm going to put that into words is different enough that the way you put it into words, it needs to be honored because it is a personal journey. And
right.
that individual journey is what we're trying to support.
Right.
Not take it over, not tell you what to say.
Right. Exactly. And that's why like we just said, I mean, I have a few things like the living for today. I worry about what's going to happen. And you just said, the fear of getting, being the elderly lady. Well, I never thought of it quite like that, but I have that fear of what's going to happen as well. And I need to, what do I need to do? What do I need to do so this doesn't happen? I don't need to do anything. I need to live right here, right now. And we just came back from a little vacation and we just did exactly that. We had lived every day, but this is today. Today we're doing this, and today we're doing, tomorrow we're doing that. And if something didn't happen, we were fine. If it rained, it was fine. It's rain. If it, If the train was delayed, it was fine. So, and all of those things did happen. We got rained on, the train was delayed, and all these things happened. But, you know, we managed to be just fine. And we're, my husband and I are happy with each other's company, so we weren't like put out or anything. So it was good. But it's one of those things, it's like living for right now in the moment. And I was sitting there and I felt myself, the train's delayed, and I felt myself getting worked up. And I'm going, why? I don't have to be anywhere at a certain time. Like, I'm okay. What difference does it make if I'm sitting here or I'm going over there? So I calmed right down, and I actually napped on the train because I was so calmed. I'm going like, okay, so it's a 2 hour ride instead of an hour. It'll be fine.
Yeah, and that's
So,
incredible. That's the gift of the present, when you can get into the present. And I think that's a huge part of why perimenopause and menopause is so scary, because there's so many unknowns. I have women contact me all the time and they want me to tell them how, what their journey is going to go, how long is it going to last, how bad is it going to get. And there's just no way of knowing, because sometimes I talk to women who had no issues until after the 1 year post menopause, and then
yes.
all of a sudden had a ton of issues. And I've talked to other women who had, like, in their mid 30s starting to have problems that now we can look back in their 40s and say that was probably the beginning of perimenopause.
Yep.
But as far as, does that mean that they'll go through menopause and then they'll be totally fine? We don't know, because they're like, oh, I've already done all of this suffering. I can't really do another, but we don't know. We really don't know. And so being fully present, for me, fully present right now is going to be definitely number one. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep my list kind of, I've got it earmarked here, so that whenever I have, like you said, that reoccurring thought of whatever it is, that I can write that down. I'm very lucky right now. My symptoms are, they've been really manageable. And I've done some experimenting with supplements that didn't really work out, but I learned a lot in the process. And I'm feeling like I'm in a pretty good place that way. So that's probably really different from where I was in December.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's been partially, I think, just supported by doing these workshops where we get really targeted. That's the other benefit of doing it, because we'll be able to go back now a whole year by the time we do the one in December and be like, what did we have on the
Right.
welcoming inside? Did those things all, and I bet you anything, a lot of it's going to be like, I don't even think about that anymore, because it's just part of my daily life.
Right. And I think that that is one of the biggest benefits of doing this, is that that in the moment, aware and focus of what you're doing and what you don't want in your life. I found that what I don't want in my life has pretty been much been my whole life. I've been working on what I don't want.
Well, because that's what we
'Cause
focus on.
that's what we focus on.
Yeah.
So now I'm working on, well, what do I want? Like, I've not, what do I want in my life? I've been focused so much on just getting rid of the negative and the bad, or what I thought was bad or whatever. And I also learned pretty early on in my life that, there's a lesson in everything. So what's the lesson? And sometimes I struggle with what the lesson is. And I just sit there and I'm going, I'll sit there and I'll go like, what's the lesson? What's the lesson? What's the lesson? Because I want this to be over. Um, but sometimes it takes, the lesson's a long one, and it doesn't just happen overnight. So you can't just say what's the lesson and hope it's over, because sometimes you got to learn and take it baby steps, and sometimes that's what it is. And I just go like, I need to take that step back, look at it straight in the face, and go, okay, take me through the steps, because I want to learn my lesson, and I want to learn my lessons, and I want to move on, because there's and I want to be able to share too, like we do as women, and we should. And because everybody is different, everybody's symptoms are a little bit different, how we feel them is a little bit different. So and why, I'm 63 and I still have hot flashes. Well, there's a reason I have hot flashes, but there's, when you have had cancer and stuff and they put you on medication, stuff happens. So I sit there and I'm going like, but I take full advantage of it now. I was embarrassed in my early 40s about a hot flash. Now I'm going like, I'm having a hot flash. I go, here's a fan.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Make
it's not
way.
a problem.
Yeah, that's kind of the acceptance part of coming to terms, which I think is part of what happens when you have that clarity around what it is you want to let go of and what it is you want to bring in. So that's about a half an hour. I think we should wrap it up there. And
Okay.
thank you so much. And I really look forward to it. I'm going to just keep working on it, and we'll be back and forth. So if anybody does have questions about what we're doing or how we're doing it, you can feel free to ask. And in the group, or in the chat, or in the event, there's lots of options. But I really appreciate your time and effort showing up today, and helping to mentor women through this difficult transition, and being a good role model.
All righty.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll talk soon.
Okay, take care.
Bye.